Hello, brain mates.
Brain mates!
What is your profession?
Hey, my name is Jordan. I'm from Jordan, and you are watching The Jordan Show. Today we have yet another video from Man. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but the video title is Modern South Arabians, a Demographic Anomaly. So they're going to talk about, some Arab people. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna learn more about it. I would like to thank Matthew Mann for sponsoring this video and many other videos on this channel through the Streamlabs link in the description down below. If you want to request a special video, a specific video, you can go there and donate whatever you want and give me, a link to watch the video you want me to watch. All right, let's start the video. Roll it.
Here in the United States and the West, we tend to think of the Middle East as a fairly homogeneous society throughout, with most major news publications rarely giving the time of day to the various cultures, and we've discussed the many subgroups of Middle Eastern peoples before.
What is the meaning of homogeneous? Like it means similar, I guess, or they share a lot of specifications and stuff like that, or what? What's the meaning of homogeneous? Yeah, just tell me in the comments down below what's the meaning of homogeneous.
For including the Iranians, Turks, Caucasians, North Africans, and Arabs, but there is one group in the region that stands out, not only linguistically and culturally, but by appearance as well. Although Arabs today are far from an unvaried people, with the huge disparities in regional dialects and genetic makeup mostly being attributed to the unique way in which the Arab tribes spread, having originated in the Hejaz region of Saudi Arabia and conquering and assimilating many of the surrounding ethnicities through the spread of Islam over the span of hundreds of years. However, the one group near the Arabian homeland that was actually never assimilated has been the subject of increasing interest for historians and anthropologists.
I have a feeling it's in Yemen, because I think Yemenis are really different in a way from all other Arab people.
Alike. I'm referring to the group of people collectively known as the modern South Arabians, who, despite their name, are actually not a part of the wider ethnic Arab group, instead being named for their position in the Arabian Peninsula, lying in the far south on the Omani-Yemeni border, and are easily recognizable by their unique phenotype, having a far darker complexion than the surrounding Arabs, almost resembling an intermittent population between Horn Africans like the Habesha and South Asians such as the Dravidians, although appearance is greatly varied.
Oh. I don't know. I think if you guys watch me for a long time, you will know that I have something for dark-skinned women. These girls look really beautiful.
Varied among.
I also like the. I really like the. What they call it? The traditional things that they wear most of the time.
These particular ethnicities. This would make sense from a geographic standpoint, seeing how Arabia is situated in between the Horn of Africa and South Asia and had frequent trade relations between the two. But first, let's revisit the Arabian Peninsula and their relations with the neighboring regions. The Middle East and North Africa have had very close relations with the regions of Sudan and the Horn of Africa to their south since antiquity, as the whole Afro-Asiatic language family most likely originated in Ethiopia and spread north to the greater Middle East, and the Horn African haplogroup E3b is also present in Egypt.
Yeah, like guys, I really don't know what he's talking about. Like, don't be scared. I also don't. I have no idea what he's talking about. What is haplogroup, and what is E1P1E? I don't know what's that.
And the whole of the Maghreb. The Afro-Asiatic proto-language evolved into the Semitic languages covering the bulk of the Arabian Peninsula, turning into the ancient Hebrew, Syriac, and Arabic languages, although a separate branch developed in the southern half of the peninsula, which is predictably known as South Semitic.
Interesting. Interesting. So Semitic, well, you get all these kind of you know, languages from Semitic, and then you go to the south, and then you go some other languages. This is very interesting. And then okay, so there's like from Semitic you get Arabic, you get Northwest, you get Kanati, I don't know what's that, you get South, and then from Northwest you get like Aramaic. I don't know. It's really interesting. For me, I really love languages. I want to know more about language, so this is interesting.
Despite the name, these South Semitic peoples were about as far from the Arabs of today as you could expect, with perhaps one of the most famous groups being the Sabaeans, located in modern Yemen in the far southwest corner of the peninsula. The Sabaean kingdom was one of the last old South Arabian kingdoms located in the Arabian Peninsula before the rise of the Arabs proper, although another South Semitic language, Ge'ez, passed onto the Horn of Africa, and the descendants of said language would later evolve into the Ethiopian Semitic or Habesha languages, including Tigrinya and Amharic. But
in Islamic history, there's a lot of things are said about Habasha. Yeah, it's something very important in Islamic history. Yeah, I heard it somewhere.
a few South Semitic branches did survive in Arabia as well. These stragglers came to be known as the modern South Arabian peoples, and they diverged into at least 6 separate languages today, with the largest by far being the Mehri, Shehri, also known as Jabali in Arabic, and lastly the Socotra. And as mentioned previously,
Jabali means it's an adjective for the mountain, I guess. So like you say somebody is Jabali, somebody who is living on the mountain. Yeah, I don't know.
these South Arabian peoples are very phenotypically unique, often having very dark skin, jet black hair, but retain many other physical traits of the neighboring Arabs, such as slim noses, prominent facial hair, and straight to wavy hair. Now, due to the fact that the MSA language's closest living linguistic relatives are the Ethiopian Semitic languages, you might think that the Mehri...
Oh my god. Oh my god. Wow. She has the most beautiful eyes I ever saw in my life. This is interesting. Guys, don't mind me. I am drugged like crazy. I have to I had to go to the dentist just like an hour ago, and he just gave me the strongest painkiller ever. I don't know what is it. I have no idea what is it. I think, yeah, some ibuprofen or something like this. He gave me something like this, and then he gave me something like this. So yeah, I am so drugged.
Shehri and Socotra are genetically closely related to them and other Horn Africans. And although genetic studies on these people are still quite limited, the evidence actually points to a bit more of a unconventional hypothesis. But first, let's discuss some of the history of the region that may have influenced their genetics. And in order to do this, we need to go back some 60 to 70,000 years when the first humans left the continent of Africa. This first migration out of Africa led to the formation of the world's modern physical diversity in human traits, and as I've discussed in the past, virtually all of Southeast Asia was inhabited by a dark-skinned Melanesian-like people up until around 10,000 years ago, when they were replaced or assimilated by Northeast Asian migrants. And evidence also strongly suggests that Southern Asia, along with parts of the Middle East, were also inhabited by dark-skinned, Proto-Australoid peoples, with the majority of South Asians today obviously exhibiting traits from this group, although mixed with varying degrees of Eastern and Western Eurasian DNA. And it's possible that the modern South Arabians are the last remnants of this Southern Eurasian group, although we're heavily mixed with the advancing Semitic population. This is evidenced by the presence of mitochondria.
Seriously, they have really interesting eyes. Yeah. Yep, they have very interesting eyes. What the fuck I'm talking about?
or maternal haplogroup R2 and M30 among South Arabians at around 30% today, which is heavily linked to other South Asian peoples, especially the Dravidians, while their paternal haplogroup is overwhelmingly J at nearly 80%, one of the highest rates of any group in the world, with haplogroup J originating in the nearby Arabian Peninsula. There are also much smaller amounts of paternal haplogroup E3b and maternal haplogroup L2, both of which are linked to sub-Saharan African populations. So one theory is that MSA peoples most likely contain the genes of the last of the former southern Eurasian population, albeit with serious intermixing with the neighboring Yemeni and Omani Arabs, as well as a smaller contribution from Horn African peoples and other Africans, while there is little evidence of a major backwards migration from the region of South Asia back to the Arabian Peninsula in the recent past. Well, perhaps there is now, but that's a topic we've already discussed. Another theory is that modern South Arabians are actually the same race as the surrounding Arabs, although have attained a darker pigmentation through natural selection, although that doesn't entirely explain these differences in mitochondrial DNA. Now, although there was no significant gene flow of contemporary...
This is really interesting. The sign says, engineer Ahmed, the engineer Ahmed, for fixing electronics, and on the door there is like we have I don't know, you can charge your phone from here or something like that. This is really interesting. The building is like 1,000 years old and they fix electronics in it. This is really interesting.
Indians to the region, modern South Arabians, especially Socotrans, were heavily involved in the trade from both Arabs and Indians, with thousand-year-old inscriptions found on the island of South Asian origin, and in fact Thomas the Apostle, on his way to India, actually visited the island of Socotra, converting many of the native islanders.
I really want to go to Socotra too. This is a very special place in the on the planet. It's almost there is a lot of like of that island is totally isolated and there's absolutely nothing there. I think that would be nice to just check it out, you know.
This actually led to the bulk of the island taking up Nestorian Christianity hundreds of years before northern Europeans would adopt the religion, and despite their proximity to Ethiopia, Socotran Christianity was actually more in line with the Syria Christianity of the Levant. Although the other South Arabian tribes, such as the Mehri, Shekhi, and Harsusi, were converted to Islam following the Arab expansion, because of Socotra's isolated position, the Socotrans remained Christian for another 1,000 years. The Portuguese came upon the island in the early 1500s and were shocked to find native Christians in the region, setting up a very short-lived naval base on the island, and a small number of Portuguese settled on Socotra. Following the short Portuguese occupation, the island of Socotra fell under the control.
Whenever you start studying some, history, you find the Portuguese that were everywhere, and if you travel, you will find Portuguese stuff everywhere. And now you think about Portugal right now, and they are like totally different than what they were before. It's interesting.
Control of the Mahra Sultanate, based in the mainland of the Arabian Peninsula, who had embraced Islam not too long after the death of Muhammad, and hence the native Socotrans were gradually converted to Islam and started speaking Arabic as a second language. Unlike the Arabic-speaking Yemenis to the south, generally modern South Arabians do not contain a significant amount of Horn African admixture, although during the time of the Mahra Sultanate, small numbers of Somalis settled into Socotra and the Mehri homeland, along with Zanj or Bantu slaves taken from further south on the Swahili coast. Socotra was later sold to the British Empire and was actually one of the few areas outside of South Asia to once be a part of the British Raj for a short period of time. Eventually, the nations were assimilated into the new country of South Yemen, and none of these South Arabian peoples had their own country, and have gradually been assimilated into the dominant Arab culture of the region, with many considering themselves Arabs today, although many still acknowledge their unique origins in the Middle East. There are anywhere from 300 to 600,000 people that belong to these modern South Arabian ethnic groups today, making up only a fraction of the population of both Oman and Yemen, living in isolated pockets on the fringes of these countries, which is something they have in common with the Negritos of Southeast Asia. There are also smaller numbers of recent migrants in the neighboring countries, especially Somalia and the Arab states of the Gulf, such as Kuwait and the UAE. Also of note is the Razihi language in the far northwest corner of Yemen, which is actually the last member of the old South Arabian languages, as opposed to the modern South Arabians, although very little is known about the Razihi people, and phenotypically they appear to be not too dissimilar from the surrounding Arabs, not belonging to the same genetic cluster as the modern South Arabians. However, another fascinating demographic anomaly in the area would be the Swahili coast just to the south, with Swahili actually having considerable influence from Arabic and Persian, although not quite enough to be considered a mixed language, with most of its grammar coming from Bantu, while its lexicon has had the most significant changes, not too dissimilar to the English language, which derives much of its lexicon from French and Latin. As can be expected, many Swahili-speaking inhabitants from the Comoros Islands to Zanzibar and even the mainland of Africa have Middle Eastern, South Asian, even European roots from Omani, Portuguese, and Indian traders who settled in the region. But the epitome of this is in a few of the Swahili peoples of Somalia. The amount of racial miscegenation in the Ravanese, Benadiri, and Bajuni tribes of Somalia becomes obvious just through their appearance alone, and indeed it does appear that they are extremely ethnically mixed, as anthropologist Awale Ismail compiled some data on the genome of these individuals and found that these tribes do have around 20 to 25% South Asian ancestry, which is quite curious for the region.
I should totally get a DNA test, because my family is one of the biggest families in the Egyptian desert. Okay, I never been there to the Sinai. The Sinai desert. It's like it's between Palestine and Israel and Egypt, and my family is one of the biggest families in the Arab world, with more than 1 million people in one family. And we have here in Jordan, we have no idea about them whatsoever. We only know that we come from there. And I think it would be really interesting if I find out what is my DNA mixture. That's something I have to do.
Component probably isn't from Socotra or Mehri traders, who most likely do not score high on the South Asian component of DNA tests, but rather from more recent South Asian sailors from either Gujarat or Sindh, who intermixed with Swahili Bantus, Arabs, Persians, and native Cushitic Somalis to create this unique hybrid population who have created their own niche in the country of Somalia today. The Horn of Africa, and this previously mentioned region of Arabia, remains, to me and many others, one of the most captivating regions from a linguistic and anthropological point of view, as new discoveries are being made all the time. And although emigration and assimilation may see the modern South Arabian people and culture disappear soon, they still remain in stark contrast to their neighbors as one of the world's last great demographic anomalies. And be sure to tell me your personal theory as to their origin and distinct appearance in the comments below. And as always, thank you all for watching. This has been Mason, and I'll see you next time.
This guy really knows his shit, that's what I'm gonna say. And whenever I watch any of his videos, I keep thinking about what the fuck is going on. And after I edit the video and post it, I start actually looking for pictures from the same people he was talking about. This is really interesting. This is really interesting. I should totally try and make like a DNA test. Let's see to see like what the fuck I am, because yeah, my family is really weird. Like even in my extended family, like my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, like each and every one of us look different. They just we all look different. One of my cousins, he came out as like Asian. He looks South Asian, so I think maybe we have something, right? I don't know. I guess if anybody here knows anything about this situation, maybe they will tell me. Until we do like a DNA test for me, we'll have to keep wondering. Anywho, that was really interesting. I would like to thank Matthew Mann for sponsoring this video and many other videos. If you want to actually request a specific video for yourself, please use the Streamlabs link in the description down below. I love you guys very much. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. If you like the video, hit that like button. If you don't, that dislike button for you. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out. I'm business guy Jordan, hence the glasses, the hat, and the formal kind of sitting. Nah, I'm just fucking with you guys. Still, I'm the business guy Jordan. I'm here to tell you, please guys, support this channel. Let's keep it alive. There's the Streamlabs link in the description down below. There's the Patreon thingy. Go ahead and support this channel. Let's keep doing the good work. That's it. That was not that. It was not that professional, right? Anyway, I'm business guy Jordan. See you guys in the next one.
That's my best friend.